All right. Victory Monday. This is Block Party. I'm your host, Mike Wahle. Thanks for watching. Guys, if you're enjoying the show, hit the subscribe button, give us a good rating, share with your friends, do all that fun stuff. We're here on the Process to Perform channel. We'll show up later on Andy Herman's Pack a Day podcast. Thanks again for Andy and the crew for having us on. This is a fun game. Listen, there's a lot to take away from these games, and we talked about it on the Andy Herman show. There's 5 skill position players on the Packers offense that are not playing right now that we would love to have. We might take over the 5 that are playing. Like when you start talking about a Josh Jacobs, a Marshawn Lloyd, who I think is going to be, if he can get healthy, if he's going to be extremely dynamic. Your Tucker Kraft, your best offensive weapon this year. Guys are just out. Jaden Reed, you've got players that are not playing, and we're making some adjustments not only on the offensive line, but with the 6-man tight end, the 6-man jumbo offensive line package. And like, this was not a good offensive day for the Packers again. And we need to talk a little bit about, what Tucker Kraft has obviously meant to that offense and where they're at and what adjustments they have to make in order to really make a deep playoff run. Cause that's what we're going, this is what the expectation is with the Packers. What they have to do to get over the hump now with the current tight end crop. Know that Tucker Kraft's not coming back anytime soon. But this defense, man, the safety play, including Bullard, Carrington Valentine, the way he's playing, Micah Parsons just being a world changer and bringing so much to that defensive line. I mean, imagine what your pass rush look. I like all of our players. Imagine what your pass rush looks like without Micah Parsons. Just different level of human, just better human than the rest of us. Quick stats. JJ McCarthy, I think he's going to be a good player. I mean, the fact is the kid can spin it. He doesn't have his confidence right now. They don't have confidence in him. They don't have confidence in the way they're calling plays. I mean, Kevin O'Connell's one of the best play calling coaches in the league. He's famous for making resurrecting quarterback careers. But, McCarthy goes 12 for 19 for 87 yards, 2 picks, sacked 5 times, countless pressures, under duress, not getting off his first read, and you're kind of done. You see it all over tape. Packers had a great game plan for some of their deep crossing routes. And just taking away that first read and letting the pass rush get to the quarterback is really what defense is all about. And you can't say enough about Jeff Hafley and his crew and what the job he's done, coming in, starting last year, and then really, following through. We see it at every position. The DBs obviously are something that we always talk about, but you think about the linebacker position, how good. Quay Walker didn't play this week. Isaiah McDuffie had a fantastic standout game. I think led the team in tackles, had the pick, obviously, had half a sack, just beat up the running back on the way to the quarterback. I think he had the breakthrough 2 and the right guard. But you see with Quay, with Cooper, with McDuffie, the way those guys are playing, the way Quay Walker's evolved, even though he didn't play in this game, like, Hafley is a good-ass coach. I don't think he's going to be around the Packers for very much longer. It's just, if I was a owner searching for a head coach, man, I know everybody wants offensive guys, but it's a hell of a good coach. Running game, 20 for 93. It's like, yes, okay, then no TDs, obviously, but, 20 for 93 is a pretty good output, generally speaking, a little less than 5 yards a carry. But I mean, it's such a small piece of what's going on, and all the tackles for loss, playing behind the sticks the whole game. It's like you're going to give up you're probably going to give up a couple more yards than per carry than you want to. But it's like, who cares? Because they're playing so well from a scoring standpoint. It's just they're top 3-4 in the league right now, the way they're playing. So it was a fun-ass game. There's a lot to take away. We'll talk about a lot of it. We'll answer all your questions after this, but let's get to the tape now. Guys, I know the exposure on this film, and I got to figure it out. I won't get into logistics. Why? It will get better. I'm working on it, but take it for what it's worth. I think there's a lot of good information off this tape. Hopefully I say it in a way that makes sense to you. Let's watch it. We'll get back to the listener questions after this. All right, so this defense is playing awesome, and one thing we wanted to highlight is kind of, and we'll do it a couple different times, but how these safeties fill on motion, how they're fitting into the run game. Obviously, the defensive line and what Michael Parsons has been able to do is something else. But just really enjoy watching these guys and taking away, like, for example, there's just little stuff here, but this is one of the few plays, and this is just really just a a nice glance route by one of the better receivers in the league that, J.J. McCarthy makes one of his good throws. But if you're just watching over the course of this game and how many helmets are around, Justin Jefferson, and how difficult it is to throw against this team right now with, Micah Parsons at pass rush and some of these other guys really kind of stepping up and creating some pocket pressure. And then what they were able to do with Evan Williams and McKinney, and obviously Bullard on the back end. Carrington Valentine just playing really, really well. So happy for him and the job he's done. So one thing I want to get to is this matchup. This should have been a premier matchup. And, Micah Parsons, he comes over from Dallas and goes, big team to big team. And all of the attention that he got about it, and obviously the player that he is, and the scrutiny and the media attention and everything, and he's the number one guy on the opposing team scouting report and all of that. But it also does something to affect this player. Christian Darrisaw's a great player, but he was clearly hurt. He came out of the game later on, but you kind of thought the game was done with, given what the Vikings have been able, at least offensively for the Vikings, given what they've been able to do with McCarthy after this play. And the reason I say that is and Darrisaw might be hurt. Who knows? I mean, he's out there playing. It's kind of on him. But you've got this guy chipping, and you set out flat and give up the inside lane when that's kind of been his go-to against these elite tackles this year. Right there, you're getting chipped. What are you doing? Inside rip and first pressure to throw the ball out of bounds. After that, for me, it's because that was play 3. So for me, it's if that happens on play 3 and you had an outside chip, it's going to be a long day over there, man. We got a 2nd and 13 look, and one thing that I don't know the stats on it, I should look it up, but the amount of time they played from behind, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10, it was more than 3rd and 13, 3rd and 2nd and 13, insane how well these guys did up front. So they got the tackle pull, and we just kind of show all this stuff here. And this is one of the few times that they filled away, but you still see that Evan Williams comes down late, and I just like how they're doing this. I think it's thoughtful, and what I mean by that is they're going to occupy here for the crack, and they're going to shoot this guy so he's a free runner. So these players are accounted for in the box right now. Okay, this guy is not going to be accounted for. They don't have that 8th in the box call. And when he's coming from depth, you really don't worry about him. Now, this is, on one hand, you're like, Mike, it's a 4 or 5 yard gain. On the other hand, I'm like, it's a 4 or 5 yard gain, and they got to run about 6 more of them in a row without screwing up before they can get to field goal range. But you see at the top end here, and there's a bunch of different ways they end up doing this, but they end up cracking here when really this guy's going to play flat. This guy's going to run fit, and that receiver's not going to see it. So this turns what could be a monster play, quite frankly. I mean, they've got everything they want here. They've got double, cover up second level. I think they're being okay there. So they got the lane, but just the way that they're filling makes this difficult for that wide receiver to track, and then therefore they can get hands on with Evan Williams. Evan Williams is just playing out of his damn mind, man. What a draft class that turned out to be. 2nd and 4th round picks just started and playing extremely well. They've talked a lot about dagger concepts they're famous for them. But the dagger concept is just the go and the deep in. And really, at the snap of this, they're already trying to take this play away and go back. So they've got McKinney on a 2x2 side. We got 2x2, 1, 2, and then 1, 2 over here. His eyes are just searching for this dagger. You can see his eye. He's not worried about this go, man. And the responsibility, and this is kind of it's not a different way to play it, but the responsibility here, because this can be open if this guy doesn't get over the top, vertically over the top on him. But they're just sitting with this backside safety or middle safety, hey, man, all we care about is that dagger. And then we'll just have Isaiah McDuffie take with a curl, then just tackles and just knocks the shit out of Hawkinson on the crossing route. So it's like another 5 yard paper cut, and we'll take it. Got a 2nd down and 3 look here. Same idea now. They're going to go motion across here. They're going to bring this down, and they're going to fill. And the key is for this player to keep good leverage. So watch it play out. So different way to attack it because they got two tight ends on that side. Now they get it right. Now this receiver says, okay, I see this coming out. Now they come back in, and they actually get the crack. But just the safety play is it's just an interesting watch because they'll do it a couple different ways during the course of the game. See, they fold this back in on the backside. 59, great job just throwing 74 off him. I mean, this is an 80-pound difference here and here. Not 80 pounds is probably a bit much. Let's call it 77. All right. That's big time, man. Physicality on this side of the football is awesome right now. Intensity. Like, it's just so much fun to watch. Like, when I was playing for the Packers, my first year, we had Reggie, Santana, Leroy, Gilbert, and I think they were, top 2 in the league. I think Reggie had 15 sacks that year. It was his last year in Green Bay. And, really you don't think about, when you think about the Packers, obviously because of the quarterbacks we've had, we always think about the offense. But, man, this defense is turned out to be potentially very, very special. One of the few plays where they just kind of guessed wrong. Coop saw that pull. And really on this play, this is the back doing a good job. And this is why they run an A-gap. You see a lot of teams. Now, we used to run this with the come on, Mike. We used to run this with the jab step, and then you follow the guard here so your angle's a little bit better. So you're kind of thinking like you're going to hit here or here. But everybody's handing this off A-gap, and they'll follow this way. Now, I don't personally like this, but the reason they started doing it was because this guy loses backside a lot, and he comes over. So right now when he holds, we're going to see this. I think this is Wyatt. He dips underneath. Cooper's following the guard for the double, and then it's just bounce out the back, and all you got to do is secure this backside, which honestly is a really, really easy block for that tackle. So you see it here. Devontae Wyatt kind of dips inside, and then just out the backside here. Have to come back and make the play. McDuffie, good job. 3rd and 1. What a play. What a play by Enagbari. Enagbari's in there like 255, playing defensive tackle between the center or between the guard and the tackle, who combined 700 pounds, and just guys are just making plays, man. It's just awesome to watch. That's not an out stunt. That's just him making a play. Little things make a big difference. Real fullback. Coop, is he big enough to play? Last year we were kind of talking about it. Confrontation, not a problem. Not a problem. Fantastic. Parsons doing his job. That's awesome, man. Big time ball. 2nd and 10. Still 2x2 hipped off so they can get that chip. Just holding it too long. You see McDuffie runs a stunt here. Watch the back end first. They drop Enagbari into the hook curl. Really taking away that in between the two linebacker and defensive end drop, and taking this away. Really the only thing they're going to have here is the shallow. They want this. They want to take a peek outside. They do a good job of taking away with Enagbari here on that hook curl. That's probably what their first read is. You get McCarthy have his first read, his problems. But you just watch I think this is McDuffie coming in here and just splits both of them, man. That's big time ball. Can't flat set Parsons. So when I say flat set, this is always something to me that baffles me from guys who are coaching line. You kick out wide. You bring your second step over too much. You've created this space. If he goes inside, there's even a bigger B gap. And the reality is, like, whatever Parsons is, 255, 260, runs a 4.44, 4.3, whatever. This dude's an awesome, awesome athlete, but he's like 325, right? So you got 325 going this away, and you got 250 running a 4.3 going this away. And it's like, how do you think that's going to work? You know, it's not to your advantage if you're an offensive player. Right? It happens so fast. It's like not even a play. It's crazy. Boy, he's got a lot of really good players this year on that move. Now he beats him outside. Sack. They take away the chip. You know, the problem with Darryl Salyer, he's hurt. You can tell he's hurt, but, you know, you decided to play. These are always tough blocks because you can tell that Micah Parsons isn't respecting the run here. And this is like, it turns into being a little gimmicky for me, right? Like, you're pulling the backside guard. You look at like it's a Jets toss. Like, nobody's running that play. Like, what is he going to do? It doesn't make sense. Now, if he stepped in and said they were running something like this, maybe, you know, but like, I mean, because you're really just trying to influence these backers and maybe one of the safeties. Obviously, on the inside, you can influence the pass rush, but, you know, this guy, this is the block. And, you know, the onus probably in the game plan with the Darrisaw is like, hey, man, you're our guy. You're our best player. Take care of him. It's tough. It's tough playing against that guy. 3rd and 16. Now, this method of just, you know, I'm just going to run over that center. This is what, you know, they keep ranting about and raving about on TV is like, and rightfully so, man. Like, that just creates problems. Gets the quarterback off the spot. Devontae Wyatt, you know, he doesn't win here, but he gets a great sack, 1 or 2 on the day. But really, it's like you're just putting Parsons in. I'm not a big fan of him going in there and doing that because I just think you can see how valuable he is on the edge. But, you know, if you're going to get triple teamed every once in a while in those situations, you probably are. They're probably just going to find you. And then you look at this play with the outside toss. I think this is 3 plays literally in the game in a row where he doesn't make the play here, but, you know, he makes the play. And this is crazy. This is a weird blocking scheme, just talking about it. So it's basically Thielen's going to go, it's not Thielen, but he's going to 1-2, like kind of, I'm going to get you psych. And then he's gone kind of like they're slipping this. So they're going, okay, I'm going to get you. And he's kind of like psych, I'm going to get him. And then he's got to come all the way over and fit this up. And, man, that's tough. You would think if you're the right guard here, you're like, hey, man, can you just wait? You know, footwork's not great, obviously, but you got to have perfect footwork playing against Micah Parsons, run or pass. I think this is where Sean Gary gets around. A lot of guys, I want to put this in. The problem with these sometimes is the quarterback holds the ball. This guy chips it out. So, like, now Rashawn Gary's all the way out here, but he gets a full head of steam, and this tackle doesn't really know where the quarterback is. This happens every team. And so as you see this play out, so he pushes him out. So it's like, okay, now what? You know? McDuffie, great pick. McDuffie had a hell of a game, huh? Filling in for Quay full time. And I think it's one of the last plays of the game. You can see, like, they're running the dagger again. They're trying. That play, you know, and on the dagger concept with 2 deep, this is not the throw. You know, is he going to bend this, middle field open? I don't know. But that is not the throw with a safety over the top. And you can just see it saying, you know, when you're on the struggle bus, man, it's hard to get off. Hard to get off. All right, we got a 1st and 10 look. And, like, you know, we talk about the switch at the right guard. This is the first play of the game. So just so everybody knows why I bring this up, because this is a scripted play, right? And this guy has come out of nowhere, man. He is an absolute baller. 61. He is an absolute. So they brought in Jonathan Allen. like 93. He's an awesome player. This dude out of the UFL, I mean, he jumps off. I said it last week. He jumps off the screen. I had no idea who he was. He was all over the backfield in this game and the game before. But you see, just second step crossover, just bad footwork. And I hate to say this, but this is actually the worst play in football. We've talked about it because we cannot hold up here. It's tough. Got a 3rd and 3 look here. Christian Watson's getting really damn good at this out, whether it's a quick out, whether he's pressing a little bit more. He is getting the respect he deserves because of the speed. And that leaves you this space, and you got a quarterback who can make that throw. I guess they're saying, sometimes they're saying this flat player can drive on this, but they want to take this away. But, man, Jordan Love's just making these great throws. This is one of the best throws that he makes in these football games, man. I mean, that's a tough-ass throw over that flat defender. 2nd and 6. Now we got a 2x2 with that wing look. Chip out on the right. Sometimes you need a call. They're hoping they get man. They do. Put here, and then they just kind of go the wheel and up. And we win. It's interesting that this guy, like I'm for the Packers, right? This guy's staring at the play the whole damn time. Doesn't throw a flag. Flag comes from over there. Okay, we'll take it. So we get down on the goal line, and I think, if they weren't going to rotate at the right guard after this play, I think you have to. So we got a B block with Zach Tom and Jordan Morgan. And doesn't get a hand on the middle linebacker, but God, what a run by Wilson, Emmanuel Wilson. I know he screwed up his name earlier. There's too many Wilsons that are running backs. But what a run. Boom. That is just tough running, man. Way to take advantage of your opportunity, huh? Okay, great job here by the tight ends. Show this from the end zone. So first off, Van Ginkel is showing that he's going to cut inside. So we get the cutoff now. He gives up a little bit of space, but fair enough. We come back here and just get a really solid block. Hold up, and just the big thing about these blocks, and I'll show it in real time here, is now you got to just maintain pressure. So the pressure is what wins. If you lose pressure here, and by pressure I mean you're still trying to push the guy back, right? You're not giving him space to breathe. And because you're just maintaining this pressure, now we have options. Now we can go, and this happens a couple times in the game where we bounce out the outside, and it's just because these guys are maintaining pressure throughout the play. Again, it's square to the line of scrimmage and maintaining pressure. And that's the majority of the run game. Little 3rd and 10 play here, go up to that trips look at top. What a throw. So they bring more than they got no one to cover, and they're going to try to drop Cashman back and try to keep up here, and it's just not going to happen. They still got to keep a deep safety. They only got 2 over here, so they got 1 and 2. And, this is the risk reward of playing, major pressure defense. But what a play by Jordan Love, man. So if you lined up, and this is what I was talking about with Andy Herman, like, let's say, Sean Ryan, they said there's a lot of free rushers here. Well, so here's what happens on this. Sean Ryan, I think it denotes he's going to go over here. And we got a fan look. So he's going to be responsible for A gap. I'm guessing that's what the call is, just because he bypasses it. They seem pretty confident over here. Zach, if he was squeezing, they might hard call this. I'm not sure, but it looks like they're going for, big on big out there with Zach Tom. And in a gun look, you feel okay about bringing your running back up in the A gap. If this was under center, obviously you'd have to block down and you kind of take care of the most dangerous. But I think they block out here. And they bypass two. I mean, but this is a tough ass. Like, in other words, because Cashman sells this on Belton right there, and now he's going to try to get out. So he sells this to get out, and then they bring this guy underneath, so they got two in the A gap, which it used to be unheard of. Like, you never rush two in the A gap or any gap. But they're happy to do it now because it kind of breaks a lot of the rules for offensive line. But the other side of it, you got to get back. A little sack here. This was the play that I think Olsen was talking about. So yeah, they want you line up here and you're gonna press this guy out just because that's where he is. Like, we got 15 off the screen here. If 81 was not allowed to line up wherever he wanted, or if this guy's a regular 5 tech, then you'd be fine. But he has to press him out. That's the design of the protection, in other words. And these are hard. Like, Rasheed Walker didn't have his best game at all this game, but he got takes a little stab here. But the reality is, like, ball's not out on time, and these are really, really tough because you just don't know where that quarterback is. Got a 1st and 10 play here. Trying to look like a fullback. I wanted to highlight Aaron Banks here and the job he does. So they're going to do a little slant, okay? And he's going to go one and put that second step in the ground and this is the bumper. And you just hold your spot, man. Try to get vertical. And it makes it impossible for that backer to be right. And you create the seam on the backside. So he just goes step 2, 1, boom. That's awesome. Now he's going over here. We're going to go through here, right? But because he holds this and he doesn't leave, got to play. That is such a good job by him, man. That's big time. Big time play. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but it's a big time play. Look at this from the end zone. They got a lot of work to do just as far as like adding some stuff, just getting better at blocking at the point of attack. Jumbo package stuff, you're going to, obviously you're probably going to run inside a little bit more. Aaron Banks again does a great job. Not a good job, a great job of just setting that edge. Problem is here, Van Ginkel is like, it's kind of what we were talking about on the other show in the pregame, is that's not going to work. Got to get better. Got to get better at that spot. Now, I think they end up scoring here, but this is the stuff that, these plays go unnoticed maybe in the film room, but you watch this and you go, there's no way that you don't know who you're responsible for on the backside of this play. My opinion. So for whatever reason, they've got a jam look. So jam, center and guards are covered. Van Ginkel's here. Like, this is your D tackle. You got to go, man. This isn't like a block out moment. And we just let him loose. Ends up getting in, but got to be sound on those. Those are like those plays where you look back and think, we made it, but double mugs look. All this stuff is hard. When you go double mugs, the linebackers are up. Sometimes on the toss plays, you feel better about what's going to happen, but these zone things are hard because they're effectively making everything a single block. And, like, honestly, when you're running sideways, these guys are better athletes than we are. Now, it's tough to maintain those blocks. If they want to, like, shed and get off, it's not that hard. I mean, that's what they're paid to do. We do a pretty good job here. It's not a bad run. And this is kind of what I was saying. Like, Belton's not perfect. Right, but he's running off the ball. He tries to get that inside hand in. He's covering, stays square, and drives. Like, just the drive here. Like, I'll stay for the drive. Thank you. 61 gets off, ends up getting in on the play. Like, all of it, I get it. But I'm here for the drive. I'm here for the finish. Look how good Zach Tom is. We never talk about Zach Tom. Look how good he is. Inside hand. This is a little trick of the trade, vets, man. Sneaky vet here. Right? Okay, right there was Zach Tom. So now what you do is you extend your outside arm and you get vertical and just keep him wide. Little trick of the trade. Little 3rd and 1 play here. Got their 2 tight ends. Not a huge fan of that. Looks like we were jumping the right guard position. This is another one of those plays, though. I'll just show you why I'm saying what I'm saying. Just from a X's and O's standpoint. So if we're blocking out Van Ginkle's just off the screen, here, like, you got to go here. You obviously have this. You too. You got to go through, or you got to come here. But we're not going to leave that guy. I wouldn't. But they just decide not to. And now, look, it's obviously not just a tight end problem because Rasheed Walker has no thought about continuing and going to block. Is that Cashman? Or no, that's Eric Wilson. Sorry. Eric Wilson's their best linebacker. I'm pretty sure we're gonna when we drew that up on paper, we're gonna send those tight ends down and hey, let's take care of them. Now the tight ends are, this is the best part about this. The tight ends are gonna go hey, that's a fantastic job. You guys murdered that guy. It's yeah, but tackle for loss. Just got to shore up this stuff, man. 2nd and 4. Trips like motion over 2x2. Same concept. Now they've bounced 44 out of the box now. Highlight Sean Ryan. 1-2. Okay. He leaves. Head immediately goes to Belton's on a good position. Don't like it at all. But now Sean Ryan keeps that pressure. Zach Tom. Look at Zach Tom. Reset, hands inside and drive. That's big time, man. Big time block. Aaron Banks. Good job and then working head play side. God, Zach Tom's good.
Hey friends, it's time to get our sleeper picks in for week 13 already. We're going Monday Night Football. You know me, these are the type of games that I love getting sleeper picks in for. New England and New York. We've got a really good team in New England against a not so great, but very entertaining team in the New York Giants. This isn't some big heavyweight fight. This is just, it's football, right? And so let's get our sleeper picks in and make it a little bit more fun. I'm going Stephon Diggs, more than 47.5 receiving yards, and Travion Henderson, more than 69.5 rushing yards against the Giants defense that, let's be honest, isn't that great. Also, Jackson Dart, more than 207.5 passing yards against New England's defense. He's going to have to throw his way into it, just like we've seen Jameis Winston try to do lately. Jackson Dart with his first game back. He's going to go more than 207.5 passing yards in this game. Either way, you can choose your own adventure, get your picks in over on Sleeper. And the best part is that you can get a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper for details. What are you waiting for? They're available in over 25 states nationwide. So get those Sleeper picks in right now.
All right, so you can see Jordan Love ended up 14 for 21, 139 yards. Not a great day, but that's not really what we were doing. Listen, there's a lot of action at the offensive line spot now. I think it's the one thing where you look at this and you think about the offseason changes that they made. You think about the decision to bring Aaron Banks in and move Elton Jenkins. You think about the decision to draft Jordan Morgan 2 years ago and now put him at the right guard position. I'm not saying they didn't earn the spot or this or that. That's somebody else's opinion, not mine. But generally, when you take a swing like they did in the offseason, and then it just isn't working up front. And Zach Tom's playing really well. Rasheed Walker did not have a good day. I think Sean Ryan took a step forward. But we got to get better. There's got to be consequences. That's the easiest way to say it. I don't know what those are. Those are, guys on higher pay grades than me are going to make those decisions, but got to get better up front. I want to get right to the listener questions, and we've got a lot of them. Appreciate you guys for sending these in. Let's see. We got what does it play like Micah blowing up the entire center of the offensive line due to morale at that point in the game? I think, this team came in and, everybody hypes themselves and talks themselves up. They're going through practice all week. They got a good game plan, all of this stuff. And it's like everybody's got a plan to get punched in the mouth, right? They got punched in the mouth. And I think the other thing that happened, and if you're a veteran, you certainly feel it. I think if you're Justin Jefferson, you certainly feel it. And he's doing a great job with his body language and his demeanor, not being like the prototypical diva receiver on the sideline, quite frankly, because I think he has every right to be upset and disappointed. They had Sam Darnold last year, and now he's not getting the ball thrown to him nearly as much as he should. But it's not that Micah Parsons play did anything in particular. It's just the onslaught of pressure that keeps coming up because they have so many opportunities where you're behind the sticks, whether they get you on a tackle for loss in the run game or they sack the quarterback again, or it's a throwaway. You're always 2nd and 10, 2nd and 13, 3rd and 10, 3rd and 15. It's always bad. And I can tell you from experience, like there are games with a great quarterback where you're like, it doesn't matter, man. It's 2 plays. It's okay. Like we're 2 plays away. But you can see it. Matt LaFleur felt it. You're 11 points up with a quarter to go, maybe more than a quarter to go, and you're like, I have no chance of winning this football game. And the Packers are like, we have no chance of losing. Like, we're going to go and we're going to try some stuff now. We're going to play Belton the entire second half at right guard. We're going to give him his audition. We're going to go jumbo. They don't even have a package. Like, they have plays. Like, I wouldn't even call that a package of plays. They have plays. I mean, there's a whole slew of things you do with the X receiver when you get that single safety high look. Like, the reason that you run that is to get specific looks that you think you're going to be, win on. And we should be able to win on a lot of that stuff. Now, we weren't able to. Maybe that's a lack of practice with it, or just a general lack of, like, their defensive line is really good. 61 came out of nowhere, man. The guy's like that guy's legitimately having like at least a Pro Bowl year. He playing out of his mind. And oh, by the way, Jonathan Allen's on the other side. Now, Jonathan Grenard's not even part of the team right now because of the shoulder injury. It'll be a different thing when he comes back. But in his stead, like 15's playing well. Like he's had sacks the last 3 games, I think. And, he's doing his thing with that stab bull. So that's a good defense. The defense is probably looking at the offense like, come on, guys. Like the punt, we gave up the touchdown there, but like really, like we're holding them under 20. Like we should feel good about trying to chance to win this game. Can you score more than 6 points? Like tough situation up there in Minnesota. Not our problem. But I do think those kind of plays really put an exclamation point on like, man, can we run the football? It's like not enough to win the game, Did we just show what might be the starting O-line or what it should have been with now this one says Walker Banks, Ryan Jenkins, Tom. So I wouldn't have moved. Okay, if that's the case, to Jason Brown, if that's the case, I would just, you'd say like Jenkins stay at left guard, Banks give your shot at right guard, move over. Belton didn't play out of his mind good, but I showed it on the tape. Like I'm there for the finishing. I'm there for the trying to be physical. You could see the lack of like footwork and some confidence in some angles. But what I said is this. I think he's just from a poundage and power standpoint, he's probably got more of that than Jordan Morgan, where you'd say Jordan Morgan's probably got better footwork, maybe more of a tackle body style and kind of demeanor. So if Belton's got the demeanor and the body type, and they're neither of them are, they're kind of equal in pass pro, and he's going to give you more just from a physicality in the run game, albeit I don't think he played particularly well. I don't think any of them played particularly well, except for Zach Tom, maybe Sean Ryan. You probably ride with it now. I didn't think you'd do it before the game because you're starting a new center, but now that you've done it and you felt comfortable doing it, maybe because of the quarterback situation, like I guarantee if Sam Darnold's on the other team, like they're not messing around with all this stuff. I wouldn't. But if that's the case, then yeah, man, I think that you're going to see this option next week as well. Like I think you can only get. I think the problem with Jordan Morgan is I've been in this, man. The snowball gets bigger the more it rolls downhill. And, like you see the first play of the game, the goal line play, like it's not like every play is bad. That's not what happens. But there's too many plays in the game where you're like, dude, you got to put a hand on them, or you got to get some movement. You got to do something. And it's just not there. And it will be. And he's going to be a good player, right? But sometimes you need to take a step back in order to take a step forward. And I think, for me, just in my experience with having that exact same thing happen, or pretty close to it, sometimes taking that step back and then, really getting some good coaching in the offseason and becoming like a technical master, I think that'd do him a lot of good because he's certainly going to get some more opportunities. Let's see. We had one good drive then in TD. Blah 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 blah. He's just telling me. I think you're just telling me how bad he was. Yeah. So there's a lot of comments about, we going 3 and out, or like, should we have been more aggressive later on in the game? Yeah, I think the general consensus is the answer is yes, but like so this is another situation where you can diagram plays that look good. You got 6-0 line. You're looking at like the size of their defensive ends, and you feel good about what you should be doing. You understand they're going to move. And at times, particularly Aaron Banks, like he's cutting holes in defense with his physicality at the first level. We're going to the second. But not enough guys, too many guys are fitting into blocks instead of running off the ball, or running off the ball in controlled violence and aggression and, really getting into that player and moving them off the line of scrimmage. There's too much going sideways and not enough going forward. But the plays are sound. It's not the plays, it's the execution. Now, those are both, coaching and, player issues that are areas of opportunity. But, there were some plays in the game where you're like, okay, that only looks good on paper. You don't have the players to make those blocks. That's true too. Like there's some plays in 12 personnel or 2 tight ends. Without Tucker Kraft, you don't have a guy that can go in and make some of those blocks. It's just the reality of the situation now. Like a coin flip play isn't good enough in the National Football League. But I think there are plays where you're like, you should be able to make that block. That's not hard. Or like we're completely missing the count. When we talk about free runners in the backfield, they're missing the count on the backside for their linebackers. And that's a real problem. And I don't know how to you don't know how the play's installed. Now, is the play installed in group and then, the offensive line goes into the room, the tight ends stay with the passing game, or do they go into the room, the offensive line? Are they all doing walkthrough together? Are they doing drills together in the run stuff? Like you don't know. You think they should, but you don't know because the passing game is such a big part of the offense now. Like, do they get to spend time doing that? Does the tight end coach want to coach his own stuff, or does he go in with the offensive line to make sure that like everybody's on the same page with the calls and the responsibilities? Like these are questions that all NFL teams have had to answer, and some of them don't answer them very well. It seems to me they're not answering that in like maybe from the outside looks like an obvious thing, but there's so much else that goes into it because of, again, the passing game that you just don't know, man. I remember when I was like in a coaching role in a team, we never did anything with the offensive line. I was in the tight end room. I'm like, I was an offensive lineman. I'm like, I think we should be with them just so we know what the calls are, blitz pickup, all this stuff. And some teams just don't do it, man, until it's too late. So be interesting what the operation is going forward during the week. Do you think Mac wasted some opportunities for play action plays by running so much? Well, listen, if you run a lot and you had play action, yes, there's opportunities, especially with that single safety high X receiver. You get one-on-ones out there. You should love it. We had established a run, couldn't have leveraged play action off that. Yeah. So listen, even if they were in too deep, they're coming down. Especially when you're in when you get 6 men, you get 6 linemen in the game, like they're coming down. They're going to bring you in the box. It's just that, there is what it is. Now you can go jumbo 12 and go with 2 wide receivers, but or you can go jumbo 13 with 2 tight ends and a big guy. Again, I think we had plays, not a package for that stuff. And I think that the good news is with that package that I think is a good package for this team, especially with Tucker Kraft out. The good news is like that package can only expand. Right now, you can run it. Overall thoughts on the line if there's real improvement? No. I don't think they took a step forward. I think Aaron Banks continues to improve. Zach Tom continues to show his class. I do not think generally they took a step. I thought Sean Ryan's going to get, continue to get better, but like that's a good defensive line. They move a lot. It's tough to pick up. And I just don't think they did a great job. Now this question is probably on the minds of a lot of people, but I can't believe it's being asked. Should Green Bay rotate left tackle with Walker and Morgan now that Belton looks good at guard? I don't understand why it's always assumed that Morgan just gets okay, instead of just because he's a first round pick, you don't get to just try every position out, Now Rashid didn't play his best game. And maybe that's what they end up doing because they want this. I mean, the guy's clearly like an athletic player and like he's got a lot of intangibles that you love. But again, maybe it's time to take a step back and really focus on one thing and get really good at it. Maybe that is left tackle because they plan on getting or letting Rasheed Walker go into free agency. Like, who knows these things, right? But you're in a situation now where, I think it's clear that Morgan isn't the answer at right guard. It becomes your swing player, your utility player, your sixth guy. Then I think that might be the best spot for him right now. Like, give him some breathing space to develop. And for me, there's just nothing on tape that would suggest Rasheed Walker needs to be removed for any length of time during the game so that we give another player experience, regardless if he's a first-round pick or not. It doesn't make sense for me. Do you think Matt LaFleur's version of you bacon is going to stay as part of the game plan? God, I hope so. Yeah, short answer, I hope so. Banks, Belton, 75. This should be the interior, and I think they should be able to run out of it pretty decently. Yeah, you would think so. They're big. It's confidence. So you get good at your technique. Let's just talk about Belton. Belton's, okay, now you know what real-world snaps look like against a good player. Okay, now take that, go back to the drawing board with your footwork, hands inside, body. Just think about your body profile into contact. And then when you get to contact, you're good. Like, you figured out that part is not hard for you. Body profile into contact, get into the right place, okay? And then now do what you do best, which is, let's road grade when we get hands-on. I think if you get that at every position, because I do think Sean Ryan's footwork is a real, and I showed it on the film, is a real strength of his, and I think can be a strength of his offensive line. Banks is really trying to, I showed it, set those bumpers on the backside with that stuff. He's going to have some good plays and some bad plays, as is everybody. We can't be ultra aggressive without having great footwork, right? But that great footwork allows us to be ultra aggressive, if that makes sense. But just keep working and keep refining. The question that we just never know is how much attention to detail are they paying on that particular stuff during the week? I have no idea. Thoughts on right guard position going forward? There's going to be a lot of this stuff, I'm sure. Listen, I think it's Belton. Not because he played great, because I just think that's I think, and I thought this for a while, I think that's a better alternative than what you had. Now that you've decided to do that with Sean Ryan playing in center and switching those two positions at the same time, one out of necessity. Now that you've done it and you pulled the Band-Aid off, yeah, give it a shot. Would love to hear thoughts on that combo of the inside guys. How much does the guy next to you matter? Why does it seem like combination just seems to work better? Like, I don't know that worked better or not. Like, I think some plays worked better. And I do think a big part of that is a lot of times Belton does stay more square to the line of scrimmage and tries to keep pressure on that guy better than Morgan does. Now, this is a small sample size. But let's be honest, there was that one good drive, and I think Wilson got a lot of yards after contact. He bounced outside, once to the left, once to the right. That ended up being good plays for him, where guys are just square and trying to finish blocks. And, like, again, that'll do it. That's enough for, a large portion of the game. And you just have to keep building. Like, we're in week 12 or 13, and like, you don't want to be at this place where you don't feel good about this stuff right now from a communication or execution standpoint, but that's where you are. And then, you keep winning football games, have a big one this weekend or this week on Thursday against Detroit. But these guys, there's guys that have played a lot of reps in the National Football League at a high level that can lead that group. It's just time to, step up, hold everybody accountable. Like, if you're not getting it done, like, stay back. Zach Tom, keep some guys back and work on some stuff. Banks, you're high paid veteran. Get those guys out there after practice. Work on it. Work on your footwork. Work on your technique. Warren Brinson is 5 pressures. Yeah, I thought it was cool. It says might be a late round fine for. Yeah, of course, man. And it's awesome to get that pressure. And, certainly a part of that is you remember the first one, I think it was on McDuffie's. The kind of the linebacker nose twist. I think that was Brinson. But you come in and have immediate impact, then all you've done is earn yourself more reps next week. And, certainly that's the expectation is you'll see how he does next week against a line that really struggled at the beginning of the year against us, interior. I think is playing better, is going to be different this week in their home. But if you can have another good week, then snap count just goes up. You saw with Enigbari. They said it. Matt LaFleur said it last week. Like, It's not a reflection of Rashawn Gary necessarily. It's a reflection of anybody earning more reps. That's what happens in the National Football League. It's meritocracy for the most part. Chris, you thought of Belton's play, saw his hands get knocked down a lot. Yeah, I don't think it was great. But this last line, but overall he had so much more push than Morgan. I think that's the thing, like we just talked about. If you can stay square and move the guy off the line of scrimmage a little bit, or at least hold the line of scrimmage, I think right now that's a low hurdle, but I think that's where we're at. What are your thoughts on a guy like Luke Musgrave who appears to be avoiding contact when asked to block or catch? My thoughts are, if you don't learn how to do it, you shouldn't play. Do you think his lacerated liver injury a few years ago made him gun shy? I don't know that he was ever thought of as I think he was Oregon State kid, right? I don't think he was ever thought of as a physical player. I remember watching tape on him when he came out. I think we can go back and look at the show. And I don't remember thinking like, wow, there's a physical guy, right? I think this is a good athlete that can maybe stretch the field at the tight end position. Certainly been overshadowed by Tucker Kraft. Why? Because Tucker Kraft's a more physical player, and not only in the blocking game, but also run after catch. And like, that's a big deal. Once you learn how to do that at a high level, you'll get more reps. How's Kerryon Valentine? He's good, man. He just does what Kerryon Valentine does is he makes tackles. He's physical. He comes up to the line of scrimmage and makes plays. He does a good job in coverage. He's a smart zone player as well. Like, he's not a shutdown corner, but like, you don't need a shutdown corner. You got a treasure trove at the safety position, including your nickel safety. You've got, all pro caliber or, really, really high level caliber players at all three levels right now. And what you need are guys that are really solid at the corner. If you had like a shutdown guy, would you use him? Yeah. But like, we can afford to run a lot of zone on the back end right now or match stuff because our pass rush is so good. We can sit back and have eyes on quarterback. And that's why you have 2 picks at the end of the game, right? Because, bad football with guys not chasing players, sitting in zones, looking at the quarterback size. So I think the overall, the takeaway here is, for me, every week it feels like, okay, that wasn't a complete game, but it was a win. And I think what's weird this year, maybe more so in years past, like with Joe Barry's defense, is like when I was there and when Aaron was there, the offense was always a lot better, maybe except for the Super Bowl year. But the offense was always a lot better than the defense. And right now, the defense is a lot better. I don't know if it's statistically, but when you watch the game, the demeanor, the aggressiveness, the intensity, the communication, the execution is much, much higher on the defensive side of the football than it is on the offensive side. Now, that could boil down to literally, the fact that all 11 players have to be on the same page on offense. And like, if you're having problems at the right guard position, for example, or if you have your tight end injured, or if you have both your utility guys, Marshawn Lloyd and Jaden Reed, both guys who can kind of do all those things, like, are both out of the game. Like, that can disrupt the team maybe more than like a middle linebacker who's playing really well, like Quay Walker, not being in the game. Like, those are bigger gaps, and we have a lot of them on the offensive side of the football. So it always feels like it's like we're winning. It's like a but every week. But the reality is, like, we're going to get a lot of those guys healthy. We're not going to get all of them back, but Josh Jacobs will be back. Jaden Reed will be back. Matthew Gold will be back. Our offensive line, if let's say we just keep this and they stay healthy in 4 weeks, we'll be a lot better than we were last week. And then you get your quarterback feeling good about all his options and opportunities. And I think the other thing is, like, I really don't think we run. My opinion is that we're not running enough. I don't know what we hang our hat on from a running standpoint. I don't think there's anything you hang your hat on right now. And they're searching for that. And you see that because of that, there's a lot of plays that feel, because they don't work, they feel gimmicky. And they're not. They're not gimmicky. They're just plays that they think are going to work, and they, whether it's how they offset the back, or whether they twist them around, or whether they run motion to run the quick toss. All of it feels, because it's not something that you're used to seeing, a little gimmicky. But at the same time, they're running it because the defense hasn't seen it before. I think the biggest problem, aside from the blocking up front, the biggest problem is all the different ways that they have the back enter into these different plays. What people have a hard time understanding, I think, sometimes is like the depth of and the angle of which the running back has to either A, follow a lead blocker, or B, hit a hole has a dramatic effect on how that play is going to go based on like what we're good at blocking. And so like if you're in, under center and you take a handoff and follow the guard on like a jab step on a counter play, well, that's a lot different entry point. If you go, settle step downhill at a gun and hit a gap and then follow the puller or the guard tackle pull or the guard tight end pull, you follow that guy outside or decide to cut it into the A. Like those might as well be just two different plays because the intentions or the time that the running back has to make a decision it's completely different. And the same thing with being at a pistol and being a yard further back. So you're not getting the handoff at 4 or 5, 4.5 yards. You're getting the handoff at 6 yards, and it takes that much longer to get to the line of scrimmage. Like all those things matter. And sometimes we're doing all this, whirly dervish stuff in the back, or we're trying to keep it on the same side of gun, same side run, so that like the linebackers are shifted the wrong direction. Like all that stuff, they're trying to do the right thing as far as like scheming it up. But the reality of how like the back hits that hole is tough. And if you're not going live in practice, like you might not know that until you hit the game. Like, oh man, in practice, when we got that great movement on the 3 technique double team, like that play went awesome. We're not getting that movement in the game now. It's like, well, yeah, man, it's different. Like we don't maybe have a guy that is that downhill and A gap runner getting downhill that fast where, it doesn't matter if we get movement or not. He's just like one cut, never really moves and go, never really like deviates his speed and just goes. If you can get up on a guy really fast, sometimes those linebackers and defensive linemen don't really have time to like hit their blocker, read, and make a play. But if you feel like you have to cut in the backfield or go horizontal or vertical in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage every play, well, now those guys do have time. So all of that kind of advantage you might have from some of the situations you're putting your running back in from a positional standpoint in the backfield, like it's gone. So anyways, a lot to think about, but this Detroit game is going to be fun. Really good football team playing good ball. They pulled one out against the Giants last week. Gibbs first run from the line of scrimmage, first play of the line of scrimmage in the overtime, man. He's electric. So going to be a tough one up there. It's tough to play in Thanksgiving Day in Detroit with this group, with that fan base and stuff. It's gonna be a fun game, man. Buckle up, guys. Enjoy this week. This will be fun. This will be a fun game. That's a wrap. Thanks again. Thanks again for all the Packer Nation that's out here, sending in questions, bringing in the comments. I really enjoy it. If you're enjoying these breakdowns, please hit the subscribe button, give us a 5-star, maybe share with another NFL fan, I'm Mike Wahle. I'm here to educate and entertain. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy Thanksgiving. Scotch and steak, maybe a little turkey. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Go Pack.